Christian nationalists want to turn America into a theocracy, a government under biblical rule. If things go their way this election, it could mean more power for them and fewer rights for you. I'm Heath Drusen, and on the new season of Extremely American, I'll take you inside the movement that seeks to rebuild the country in God's image. Listen to Extremely American from Boise State Public Radio, part of the NPR network.
Good morning. It's The Connector for Thursday, January 23rd. I'm Troy Oppie. This morning, the Idaho Supreme Court has overruled the Boise City Council and stopped the new Interfaith Sanctuary location in Boise in its tracks. Plus, Idaho lawmakers want the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn the decision that gave same-sex couples the right to marry nationwide. And the city of Boise is growing its composting program again, now with meat, dairy, and grain leftovers okay in the curbside bins. All those stories and lots more this morning on The Connector, Idaho Daily News from Boise State Public Radio. We'll check in at the State House in just a moment. First this morning, Idaho Supreme Court overturned a ruling from a lower court, revoking Interfaith Sanctuary's conditional use permit. Jackson Holmes has more.
The permit was originally granted in 2022, allowing Interfaith Sanctuary to relocate its shelter to northwest Boise. In 2023, the Veteran Park Neighborhood Association filed a lawsuit saying Boise City Council had violated procedures. In April 2024, Interfaith broke ground on the new $15.6 million shelter. The project was expected to be completed later this year. The new shelter has faced backlash from both Boise residents and city officials. Interfaith Sanctuary's initial application for the conditional use permit was denied by the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2021. The next year, the Boise City Council overturned the PZC's decision, officially granting Interfaith the permit. The Veterans Park Neighborhood Association, located near the new shelter, says a significant majority of neighbors oppose the project. The Idaho Supreme Court sided with the Neighborhood Association, finding Boise City Council's decision was, quote, arbitrary and capricious and based on unlawful procedure. Jackson Holmes, Boise State Public Radio News.
In a statement late Wednesday, Interfaith Executive Director Jody Peterson-Steigers said they would petition for a rehearing. A spokeswoman for the city of Boise said the ruling was still being reviewed and the city was not ready to comment. The Ada County coroner says a 19-year-old man shot Sunday as he followed three suspects accused of robbing him has died. Boise police say the shooting happened in a parking lot near Cole and Fairview. They identified and arrested three individuals early Monday, a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 19-year-old. All have now been identified. The juveniles are being charged as adults, now with first-degree murder and multiple robbery counts. The coroner identified the victim as 19-year-old Tiger Kanoy. He died Monday afternoon of a gunshot wound to the head. Idaho's House State Affairs Committee yesterday overwhelmingly passed a resolution that asks the Supreme Court to overturn its 2015 Obergefell v. Hodges decision that gave same-sex couples the right to marry nationwide. Julie Luqueta has details.
On Wednesday, Republican House Representative Heather Scott defended the measure, saying it was not about defining marriage, but about states' rights.
Rights are unalienable, and they come from God, and they don't come from government. So if we start down this road where the federal government or the judiciary decides that they're going to create rights for us, then they can take rights away.
During public comments, Misty Deli-Carpini-Tolman talked about how repealing same-sex marriages would affect her wife and children.
If this law passes, would my kids lose their health insurance? Would our family lose the simple dignity of being recognized for what we are, a family just like any other?
Democratic Representative Todd Achilles pushed back on the language of the text, saying it claimed to defend liberty while stripping it away from same-sex couples.
By making this statement, we're saying that this profound institution of marriage, which represents the highest principles of devotion, of sacrifice, of family, of love, is arbitrarily available to some Idahoans, but not others.
Most public comments opposed the resolution. It was passed 13-2 and now goes to the full House for further debate. Julie Yugueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
Elsewhere at the State House Wednesday, the latest effort to subsidize private school tuition with taxpayer money took form. James Dawson has this breakdown.
Families would receive a refundable tax credit of $5,000 per child or $7,500 for kids with disabilities. That money could then pay for private school tuition, tutoring, and transportation costs. Republican Representative Wendy Horman sponsors the bill. She rejected calls for adding accountability measures to the proposal, like testing benchmarks or curriculum standards.
You regulate government monopolies differently than you regulate the free market.
Ideas like these without accountability measures are a hard no for Democrats like Representative Steve Birch. He says there should be repercussions if a family takes the tax credit but eventually returns to the public school system, including repayment.
There needs to be consequences for the decisions someone makes. And one of them would be making sure your kid can test the grade level if you want to bring them back into the public school system.
The bill could get a public hearing later this week. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
If you just can't get enough legislative coverage or you want to stay up to date on what's going on with Idaho lawmakers, sign up for our legislative newsletter in your inbox every Monday. Find out more at boisestatepublicradio.org. The city of Boise now says it will take meat, dairy, and grain leftovers in city compost bins. Right now, about 30,000 pounds of organic waste is diverted from the Ada County landfill to the compost program. The city says that's about one fully loaded cargo ship's worth every year. Most of that is yard waste, which makes great compost, but the city says they hope users will fill bins with kitchen scraps because those are significant emitters of the potent greenhouse gas methane if they reach the landfill. Composting doesn't generate methane. Boise's compost program manager Lisa Knapp wrote by email that after nearly a decade of composting here, they felt ready to add meats, dairy, bones, and other proteins. Those can present difficulties if composting conditions aren't right. Knapp says Boise's compost is regularly tested and certified by the U.S. Composting Council. Residential participants can pick up finished compost for free at 2 different locations. Commercial users can purchase finished compost. 5 Idaho chefs were named as 2025 Regional James Beard Awards semifinalists yesterday. Many are making repeat appearances on the list. That includes Caldwell's Salvador Alamilla, who runs Amanos, now a 4-time semifinalist. Ben Barlow of the Stanley Supper Club is a semifinalist for the 2nd straight year. Terrar Bistro's Nathan Whitley and Remy Cousignet are also semifinalists. That pair were well known pre-pandemic at the Modern in Boise. They turned their Terrar food truck into a brick-and-mortar operation just last year. Whitley was a semifinalist in 2015. The Avery's Cal Elliott is also a semifinalist. The only Idaho chef ever to win a Regional James Beard Award is Kin's Chris Kamori 2 years ago. The James Beard Foundation will announce its finalists in April and winners this coming June. Thanks for listening to The Connector. I'm Troy Oppie. Our news director is Sasha Woodruff. Our general manager is Tom Michael. Hope you have a great Thursday. We'll catch you back here again tomorrow morning.